Mary had a little lamb.
We believe that all men are created
equal to the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Overnight, President Biden taking on Republican governors, accusing them of using human beings as political pawns.
Republicans are playing politics with human beings, using them as props. What they're doing is simply wrong.
Biden responding as conservative governors send more and more migrants from strained border communities to liberal strongholds, an effort to spotlight immigration 2 months before the midterm elections. Hector Miguel Donere didn't know where he was going.
They said that they were taking us somewhere where there is refuge, a lot of help, especially for the children that were traveling with us.
But when he stepped off the bus in Washington, D.C. yesterday, he was outside one of the city's most famous residences, the vice president's house. One of thousands of undocumented migrants bused to Washington by Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott. Hours before his bus arrived, 2 private chartered jets from San Antonio made a surprise landing in Martha's Vineyard, carrying roughly 50 migrants, including several children, sent by Florida's Republican governor and presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis. Local officials say they had no idea they were coming, but DeSantis made sure cameras captured it all.
The minute even a small fraction of what those border towns deal with every day is brought to their front door, they all of a sudden go berserk.
But on the ground, officials say they raced to provide help and housing.
The immigrants that arrived here were not met with chaos. They've been met with compassion.
You know, why don't these MAGA governors, why doesn't Abbott and Ron death sentence there, why don't they just drown a basket of puppies and show that they are the baddest of the badass, the cruelest of the cruel? I mean, this is disgusting. They revel in cruelty. They traffic in cruelty. And some of this might be illegal, and we're waiting to find out. But, you know, the states don't really have a role to play when it comes to federal immigration. Immigration is the purview of the federal government, which is why if you wanted to do immigration reform, you would need members of Congress and members of the Senate to agree to do immigration reform. But the Republicans, see, this is like, you know, Roe v. Wade. This is one of those high-performing, cruel, unusual, misunderstood areas of, America, where it invokes a lot of hatred and racism. You know, Roe v. Wade is misogyny and control, whereas immigration is just pure, unadulterated racism. And by the way, I have to tell you, this idea that they are coercing migrants, that's the very least of what they're doing, coercing migrants. They could very well be lying to migrants. They could very well be telling them lies, misrepresenting, not telling them where they were going. That would put them in the league of either kidnappers or human traffickers. Again, the legality of what they're doing is gonna have to be decided, and then there has to be a statute that fits this crime. And everybody is, trying to figure out which statute fits this crime, because obviously the states have no role to play in moving immigrants. They just don't. But we're finding out now that many of these immigrants that ended up in Martha's Vineyard, where, by the way, churches showed up, volunteers showed up in droves to help people. They showed up, and these might be the only people on Martha's Vineyard that don't have, Amex Black cards, okay? The locals, they all showed up, the church members, which shows you this is not a MAGA church. This is a Christian church. This is a serious church where Christianity is actually practiced. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to see some Christians that are compassionate and helpful, as the Bible tells them to be. And apparently we owe this all to Ron death sentence and to Greg Abbott. So there's that. There's a takeaway to get you through the weekend. But they're making the entire state of Florida run death sentences. And by the way, there was a quote from one of his aides, an aide to Ron DeSantis. And they said, well, why didn't you tell Massachusetts? Why didn't you tell the governor of Massachusetts, Charlie Black? Why didn't you tell the people of Martha's Vineyard? Why didn't you tell anybody that you were sending people who would need medical help, that you were sending people that would need roofs over their heads, that you were sending people that would need food, that you were sending people at all? And you know what their answer was? His aide, death sentence's aide, he's like, do cartels tell people when they're going to dump immigrants on our border? So is that an admission that Florida is now a cartel-run state? I mean, this is disgusting behavior and a disgusting response. Comparing the governor of Florida, literally by one of his own aides, compares the governor of Florida to a coyote, to an illegal cartel in Mexico. And these are Venezuelans, by the way, and some Colombians. And yes, they were traveling with children. And some of the children were as young as 2 years old. So, like I said, if MAGA is all about cruelty, which it is, and chaos, which it is, why don't these governors just stop messing with human beings and just go ahead and start torturing, baskets of kittens on YouTube and get it over with? And just get it over with. Because, this doesn't solve any of our immigration problems. This doesn't solve any of the questions of incompetence or competence in leadership. Apparently to be a MAGA king, all you have to be is like a poisonous bufo toad and just, a bully and a wretched human being. That's kind of where they're at. And it's sickening and it's disgusting, Now, Donald Trump must be sitting over there, trying to hire a lawyer or something to keep himself out of jail for everything that he's done, but probably thinking, I have to up my evil quotient if I'm going to compete against death sentence and Abbott. So I will tell you this right now. 2023 is going to be one of the most heinous, disgusting Republican primaries for the presidency of the United States that we have ever lived through. The amount of, they're going to out-cruel each other. And I want you to know that this was not Abbott's idea. This wasn't DeSantis's idea. This wasn't original cruelty. This wasn't an original thought about how to, be a kidnapper or how to be a human trafficker or how to be a bully or how to be a person who doesn't respect human rights. No, this was thought up a long time ago. This was actually Stephen Miller in the Trump campaign. This was Stephen Miller's wet dream. And the thing that happened to Stephen Miller's wet dream was we had people at the Department of Homeland Security. You may remember some of them. Miles Taylor, who resigned after the separation of children and with their parents down on the border. Yeah, so Miles Taylor explained yesterday on the TV that this was something that the Trump people wanted to do. They wanted to, dump immigrants who are fleeing violence, who are fleeing corruption, who are fleeing, chaos and, poverty in their own countries. Trump wanted to do this. He wanted to send them to blue states. And so they ran it by the White House counsel and the legal at the Department of Homeland, and everybody came back and told him, you can't do this. This is illegal. You can't do it. It won't pass legal muster. And so they I don't know if they told Donald Trump no, because I don't think anybody ever says no to Donald Trump. They might have said, yeah, whatever, and then not done it. Just not done it. But they wanted to do it in the Trump administration, and the legal people said it would be illegal to do this, because you have to get consent from the people that you are transporting. Otherwise, it is kidnapping. Otherwise, it is human trafficking, right? And so they didn't want to, get consent from these people. But this, without consent, it's human trafficking, pure and simple. The only difference is that the monetary rewards, are usually given in cash or, crypto or, transfers, wire transfer. Ron DeSantis is trying to reap political reward. That is a commercial reward for doing this.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
But yes, if you have folks that are inclined to think Florida is a good place, our message to them is we are not a sanctuary state, and it's better to be able to go to a sanctuary jurisdiction. And yes, we will help facilitate that transport for you to be able to go to greener pastures.
Okay, so that was a lie on so many levels. These migrants did not come here on their own. They did not choose to come to Florida. Ron death sentence literally conspired with Greg Abbott of Texas and asked Greg Abbott of Texas to lend him or give him or trade him or something. I mean, like, human life doesn't really matter to these people. And so he said, give me 50 people and send them to me in Florida from Texas, right? They did not choose to come to Florida. And after he received his 50 humans, I mean, this is disgusting. Disgusting. It's a new low. And a new low for a death sentence is kind of hard to even imagine. It's like saying, I want to go further south than Key West, which is mile zero, okay? There's nothing, below that. But Ron DeSantis has figured out how to go below zero on the decency meter, okay? So anyway, he went to Abbott. He got immigrants. He got 50 immigrants. They were from Venezuela and Colombia. And he literally got them to Florida by conspiring with Abbott to have humans sent to him. And then he took those humans and he decided to charter planes with Florida taxpayer dollars. Now, state money being used to transport what are federal asylum seekers, right there. I mean, that is bizarre and it's illegal. But okay, he chartered airplanes with $12 million worth of federal Florida tax state money. And then he did not tell anybody on these charter flights where they were actually going, which is crazy scary. He told them, apparently there was a woman who's been identified as being, her name is Perla. I mean, this is reported by PBS. And Perla was dispatched to Texas to entice people to believe that they were on their way to Boston, where they would get work papers and jobs and medical care and food and clothing and housing and all. She just lied to them, okay? She literally lied to them to get them to begin this journey. And when they got to Florida, they were put on a charter flight and sent to Martha's Vineyard. Now, they were told they were going to Boston. They were lied to, and they got these deceptive promises that they were going to Boston for work and expedited papers. So they were lied to, and that again is part of the looking for the statute that applies here. Is it kidnapping? Is it human trafficking? It's mind blowing. But anyway, he sent them to Martha's Vineyard without telling anybody, A, where they were going, or B, telling Martha's Vineyard to expect people to arrive who would need food, shelter, medical attention, legal, because they're in the asylum process, okay? Legal, advice. And there's also a statute that says, you can't misinform somebody about or disenfranchise them from their asylum claims by moving them from state to state. So there's a lot of legal stuff that I'm still trying to understand. So are the lawyers, the immigration attorneys, trying to understand which statutes apply. I will tell you this right now. The governor of the state of Massachusetts is obviously going to sue the state of Florida. They are obviously going to make a claim of damages because they were never told that people who would need, to be sheltered, people who would need medical, people who would need continuity in their asylum claims, people who would need legal, were coming. They had no idea. But yet the people of Massachusetts welcomed each and every one. This is the scene where they're boarding. Brett.
Okay.
They're leaving for Joint Base Cape Cod right here so that they can have legal advice, so that they can have medical attention, so that they can have beds and shelter. This is.
¿Cómo sientes? ¿Bien?
Que te vaya bien.
Gracias. Gracias por todo.
Thank you for everything. That's what he's saying. Thank you for everything. Look, DeSantis is trying to prove that liberals hate immigrants as much as he does, and it's been an epic fail because we don't. He's trying to prove something that isn't true, as usual. They're trying to say that, and he did say, if you show up in a rich enclave, why people will reject you, people will shun you, people will not want to help you, people will hate you as much as we do. But that's just not so. That's just not true. The thing here is that Massachusetts is not a border state, so they don't have the infrastructure that Texas does. They don't have the infrastructure that Arizona does. Okay, they don't have the infrastructure. Florida does, but he just denied anybody any availability to any of our immigrant infrastructure. And so he sent them to Massachusetts, some sort of a prank, some sort of an own, some sort of a, trigger the libs thing. Just creating chaos where there didn't need to be chaos. And the people that he dumped them on, they were caring, they were human, they were decent, they were kind, they were Christian, for lack of a better word. And, this is not new.
The really very sick BS I saw in immigration is what I cited when I resigned from the administration and left. I think those are, frankly, some of the most grotesque policies of that time period. Some of the people who were the architects of them at the White House are now people who have, we know, advised some of these governors on these tactics. And they should be held accountable for that. I think that using migrants as pawns here is exceptionally twisted. I'd agree with John and Harry on that point. And I'm not even so sure. I'm not a lawyer like Harry is. I'm not even so sure that there's not other hooks for the government to use against these two governors. And I'll give you an example, Nicole. Before I quit, Trump asked us to do basically this. He asked the Department of Homeland Security to go bus and dump, in his words, bus and dump migrants from the border into Democratic cities. In particular, he wanted us to pick out the murderers and the drug dealers, the violent ones, and really put those in places. We went to our general counsel's office to find every way to go tell them that was illegal. We got enough options to go back to the White House and say, I put all of the senior staff on an email and said, this is illegal. Now tell me you want to do it. And there was crickets on the chain. I suspect right now that the administration and hopefully the Department of Homeland Security are looking at ways, whether it's human trafficking laws or something else, to hold the governors accountable.
Me too. This is vile. This is disgusting. This is such a disrespect for human life and children.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Instead of working with us on solutions, Republicans are playing politics with human beings, using them as props. What they're doing is simply wrong. It's un-American. It's reckless. And we have a process in place to manage migrants at the border. We're working to make sure it's safe and orderly and humane. Republican officials should not interfere with that process by waging these political stunts. It's long overdue for Senate Republicans to come to the table and provide a pathway for citizenship for dreamers, those on temporary status, farm workers, and essential workers. We need to modernize our laws so businesses get workers they need and families don't have to wait decades to be brought back together. It's time to get it done. That's why we have to win this off-year election.
Seriously, dude, that's on the line too. The midterms will determine the makeup of the House and the Senate, right? And that will determine the ability for us to do real immigration reform, which we've been trying to do since the Bush years, believe it or not. That is why everything looks this way, because the Republicans like the issue more than they like solving the problem. And they like creating problems that we don't even have. They created problems with CRT. They're creating problems with this kidnapping. You know who does this? You know who forcibly relocates people? You know who forcibly, transports people to far-flung regions? Yeah, Putin. Putin does this. This is very Russian. This is very disgusting. This is Stephen Miller's literal, fascist brain, just thinking of the evilest, ugliest ways to treat other human beings that he finds undesirable, or he finds are hordes or invaders or rodents or less than human. This is literally his concoction. This is like, I mean, they're treating, Texas and Florida like fascist Italy without the great food and the wine. And who needs that? But that's who does this. That's who does this. It's totally un-American. We don't do this. Now, I will tell you that the Ku Klux Klan, and something called the White Citizens Council. Does that ring a bell? I hope it does. Back in the 60s and started in the 50s, after Brown versus Board of Education, after the Supreme Court said that schools need to be desegregated, okay, that everybody is a human being and we deserve to know each other, we deserve to go to school together, we deserve to be an integrated society, right? And so the South had been kicking and screaming about that. And in the 60s, early 60s, like 1961, we had Freedom Riders, and the Freedom Riders were trying to desegregate transportation. They were trying to desegregate buses and trains, and so they would ride on buses and trains. Well, this outraged the Klan, and the Klan decided that they would make themselves more presentable, let's say. I mean, they were no more respectable. They were disgusting, dark-hearted human beings with a very perverse reading of biblical scripture, I must say. But they decided that they would wear suits and ties, and they would call themselves citizen councils, okay? But they were white citizen councils, and they were the Klan, just trying to, hide their racism and make racism sort of look respectable. Okay. And so the Citizens Council sat there and came up with bizarre ideas, things that they could do. And one of the ideas they had were reverse freedom rides. And what they did was they lied to African Americans in the South, especially Arkansas is one of the most famous origin points. They would lie to people, black people, and they would tell them that they were going north. And when they got north, there would be jobs and there would be housing and there would be opportunity, and just get on the bus. Just get on the bus. And it's so weird that they picked, Martha's Vineyard for showing the white citizens who would want to be part of the White Citizens Council in the 21st century. That they picked Martha's Vineyard because back in the day, the Arkansas buses went from Arkansas to Hyannisport. Why? And instead of going to the vice president's house, they went to JFK's Hyannisport compound. See? So everything old is new again. There's not an original idea amongst these racists. They're signaling to each other. They're literally signaling. We remember the White Citizens Councils. We remember the Klan. So MAGA, just know that Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott remember how the White Citizens Councils fought back. Now, what's crazy is in Massachusetts, black people were welcomed. In fact, all across the North, black people were welcomed. But this is what they're doing, okay? And some people get this.
Ron DeSantis' cruel stunt yesterday echoes one pulled exactly 60 years ago. In 1962, a group of conservatives, furious over the civil rights movement and the freedom rides throughout the South the year before, hatched a cruel plan intended to upset liberals up in the North. They handed out flyers like this one on your screen, recruiting Southern black families to get on buses to northern states with the false promise of good jobs and housing when they arrived. One place in particular was Hyannis in Cape Cod, where the Kennedys vacationed. Take a listen to what the architects of the reverse freedom rides had to say at the time.
The ultimate accomplishment, of course, has already been obtained, and that is to focus attention on the hypocrisy of the Northern liberals and the NAACP, Urban League, and people like that especially.
We intend to continue it until those people in the majority tell those politicians we are through with this foolishness about civil rights and things that you're using for political purposes.
Sound familiar?
Yes.
Well, the joke was on them, much like it is on Governor Ron DeSantis, because the community rallied around these families who arrived in Cape Cod. As historian Clive Webb put it, the white conservatives who were behind that campaign then actually underestimated the decency of many ordinary people. And we are seeing the very same thing today in Martha's Vineyard. Restaurants, students, people all over volunteering to help those in need. It is an important reminder. Never, ever underestimate the decency of ordinary people.
Dude, this is something that they've been, thinking about since Trump, okay? Since Trump's escalator speech, okay? There is nothing new under the sun about what they're doing. In fact, it was, actually dreamt up in Russia. It was actually dreamt up a long-ass time ago. Filtration camps, relocating people, lying to them, getting them on buses, or giving them no choice. Like life or you want to die? No? Get on the bus. We're taking you to Siberia. Americans aren't haters, okay? That's the thing. It didn't work then. They're trying to prove, that this civil rights is foolishness. And if you expose the northern whites to southern blacks, they will hate them as much as we do. Didn't turn out that way. Didn't turn out that way at all. Joke's on you. There's something really ugly in the Republican Party that doesn't exist outside of it.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This is wholly a political game in their minds, to use human beings, women and children, as political pawns and to try to create chaos. Their communication on this, Governor DeSantis' communication on this, was to jump on Fox News and beat his chest at how tough he is on immigration. I think it's incredibly inhumane that an individual would use human beings, men, women, and children, there are people here, I'm told, as young as 4, as political pawns, put them on an airplane, ship them like cattle, not even being told where they're going. Some people here, I'm told, thought they were going to New York. And then do that so that governor could hop on Tucker Carlson and beat his chest about how tough he is on immigration. To use women and children as political pawns is cowardice. Governor DeSantis is a coward.
He's worse than a coward. He's the spit on the belly of a snake. I mean, he's lower than Trump, if that's even imaginable. They're trying to out-evil each other. They're trying to find new lows. They're trying to go below zero. In decency. They're literally the White Citizens Council, and they are literally signaling that kind of ugly racism to the maggots. They're literally telling them, hey, let's trigger the libs. Let's create chaos in Massachusetts. Let's create chaos in New York. Let's create chaos in front of Kamala Harris's house. And it's not working because we don't hate the way they do. And they just can't imagine not hating. They just can't imagine governing that doesn't include chaos. They can't imagine leadership that actually includes compassion and decency and dignity for all comers. They just can't even imagine. Now, listen, not all of these people are going to get their asylum claims, accepted. Not every single one is going to say, the court is not going to say to every single one of these migrants that they have a legitimate claim for asylum and that they could stay in the United States. But they don't even want to recognize that they have that right. They don't even want to recognize that they're human. They don't, like I said, why don't they just start drowning puppies on YouTube or kicking kittens or sticking needles in the eye of newborns? Because this is how they view human life. It's people are chattel to them. This is literally the most disgusting thing I've ever seen a governor of the state of Florida do, and that's saying something. It's wild. It's just wild. But they're they're pro-life. Well, they're not pro-life. They're pro-death. They have pathetic political careers that are built on hatred and chaos, period. And it is just look, it has to be actionable by us. It has to. Morally, it's decrepit. Morally, it's bankrupt. But legally, this has to be actionable. No, I mean, I'm not an immigration attorney, so I can't say which statute I would pick. But I like all of them. I like the kidnapping. I like the human trafficking. I like the the lying. Everything that they were lured. I mean, all of it. So people are trying to figure out. Was it smuggling? Is it human trafficking? Is it kidnapping? And, these are all separate statutes. But, starting to read the smuggling statute, 8 U.S.C. Section 1324 says, knowing or in reckless disregard of the fact that an alien has come to, entered, or remains in the United States in violation of the law, transports or moves or attempts to transport or move such alien within the United States by means of transportation or otherwise in furtherance of such violation of law. Now, if the Republican, governor of Texas or the Republican governor of Florida, these fascist freaks are saying they're illegally here, which is what they're alleging on the TV, and that they're not legitimate asylum seekers, then smuggling applies, this particular statute. See what I mean? If they are here trying to claim asylum, and they're here legally trying to claim asylum, and they've cut them off from all legal ability to do so, well, then that's human trafficking. If they, that's what I'm saying. There's so much going on here, but it's all disgusting. Jeannie in Alabama.
Hi.
Hey.
I just want to tell you, I am so very proud, and I admire all of you people for your courage and your bravery as you continue daily to expose truth, and your fears and frustrations and sorrow and anger are so evident in your faces, and you still continue on.
Yeah, we're having some dark times here, Jeannie, but
very, very dark.
Yeah.
All my life I've been a silent clairvoyant for various reasons. However, it's a gift that more or less acts like a disease. It really hurts. So I tell you this, I truly am thankful. I very, very, very seldom watch TV, but I enjoy watching your
Well, thank you. That's really sweet of you.
God bless all of you.
God love you. Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie. That was very nice of you to wait on hold just to say that. Fernando in Florida.
Hi. The first time caller.
Oh, wow.
Andy. I'm an ex-Air Force guy, too. It was in 1970, 74, 70 years old. Listen, I just want to comment a little bit about what Trump does or says about threatening the government of the United States, that if he gets indicted, he's going to go.
We're going to have problems. Yeah. It's like
so what?
It's a nice country, Fernando. Be ashamed if something happened to it.
Yeah, that's all that mob BS,
right?
And it's not, and he's not a real mobster. Okay, all he is a spoiled kid with a lot of money, and he rubbed elbows with people that use him. but he's not an intelligent man. The people that vote for him are stupid too, because they can't see that this guy is tearing their country apart. The Republicans don't have no way out because they let this guy get into their party. A guy that one time said that if he ever ran for president, he was going to run as a Republican because the people are too dumb to know what's the reason, what's the truth. So, this guy should be indicted. He's tearing up our country, and I'm pretty sure if he gets indicted, most of these governors now that are doing these things, they will also stop with this BS. All these things that they're doing, with people, this is all political. They're trying to show how smart they are, and what they showed is the cruelty of man.
Right.
It gives the saying of an ugly American. You know what the ugly American is? People that are racist, that are crude, that they don't have no kind of
respect
for other people.
Yes, disrespectful Americans are the ugly American. People who go to other countries and are ignorant of the culture, ignorant of the language, and then mock the people that they went to see, right? That's the ugly American.
But this guy is no good. He never was good.
No, he is no good. You're right. He is no good. He's a black heart. I
was born in New York myself, but I could tell you he's a phony. He's always been a phony. All he is a spoiled kid with a lot of money. And to tell you the truth, he didn't make that money. The one that made that money are the people that work for him, or the people that he was given to. They gave that money to him, and what he stole from other people.
And he keeps grifting off of these people. And, the idea that some of them that still are, giving him money are the dumbest of the dumb.
It's gotta be dumb.
It's observable at this point.
I mean, you gotta figure.
Your Navy wants you to pay attention to her.
Was that now?
Your Navy wants you to pay attention. You need to make her right.
To my daughter's house, but the thing is that I just wanted to comment on that because I think that this guy, the world.
Hey, listen, I would love to argue with you because I love to argue, but you're right. That's just a fact. You're right. He is a dark-hearted individual with really evil ideas about human beings. It's a race to the bottom. The cruelty is the point of that party at anymore. And the sycophants, that keep giving him more and more cash. They're proving their ignorance with every nickel that they fork over. This is a race to the bottom. This is tearing our country apart. And they don't see it.
Mary had a little lamb.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Well, it seems Republican governors have taken to shipping illegal immigrants to liberal land. Ron DeSantis chartered a flight full of immigrants to Martha's Vineyard. I bet he misunderstood that plan at least a little bit when his staff first brought it up. He was sitting in there like, oh, that's great. Yeah, we'll fly in real low, push them out, #drone the libs, right? That's awesome. No, sir, no, we thought we'd just land and leave them there, like a PR stunt. Oh, well, that's okay too, I guess. Hey, can we at least include a card that says, Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, got you some Mexicans? Listen, I know that most of these people are from Venezuela, but you got to understand, in the eyes of the other side, any type of brown immigrant is some form of Mexican, okay? That's just how their brains work. They're ignorant. Also, I bet Matt Gaetz busted in at one point like, hey, what's up? I heard you're human trafficking. Can I get in on that? What's going on? These people are monstrous, man. These are families, desperate ones, women and little children, treated as political pawns with no regard for their humanity. That's right. The what would Jesus do? Won't someone think of the children crowd strikes again, y'all. Well, we all remember that famous Bible verse. And lo, the beggar did come before the Son of God in his most desperate state. And Jesus spake unto him, ugh, gross. Throw him at the neighbors. These people are ridiculous, man. It's never been more clear that they are all in on cruelty
as a platform.
Yep.
But I think people are starting to notice on both sides. I saw a clip a couple weeks ago, this little Texas mamaw who said she was a lifelong Republican but would be voting for Beto because, I quote, they've just gotten so mean. Yes, it was both precious and prescient, in my opinion, because it seems the Republicans have decided that because alleviating any of the actual suffering of their base is clearly out of the question, inflicting suffering upon others must be the next best thing. But I don't know if continuing to dehumanize, provoke, and persecute every other minority demographic in an increasingly diverse country in the name of pandering to the most unhinged and unstable subsection of the already slim majority makes for the wisest long-term strategy. But what do I know? I didn't go to political college. What I do know is when those people got off that plane, those godless coastal elite liberals fed them, clothed them, treated them with dignity and respect, which I feel like kind of sums up the difference pretty concisely. Also, I bet there was at least a handful of native Floridians this morning like, God damn, will you pay to fly me somewhere people know how to treat each other? Love y'all.
Trey Crowder. Trey Crowder. Everyone.
He is the best follow. He's amazing.
So I included that video in the homework. So if you want a copy of that video, because every time I play Trey Crowder, Trae Crowder, Crowder, every time I play Trey Crowder, my inbox gets filled up, and not with good Trey Crowder. Now, who, we're having this, monumental flirting session on text for years now. But Trey has a YouTube channel. He also tours the United States with comedy shows that you can attend. So I put that video in the homework today at randirhodes.com. Click on the homework. It is absolutely free. You can click past you're gonna get this yellow page. It's gonna say you support great radio, blah blah blah. You can, or you can just click out of it and go to the homework section, and then you'll see Trey Crowder. Now, when you get to the end of Trey's videos, he will have these circles and squares, and if you click on any of those, they will tell you where you can find him. And you need to find him because he's got his pulse on the South. He's got his pulse on the culture war. He has the awesome ability to be a liberal from Red America and put a spin on it that is funny so that you can process the cruelty of it all without feeling bad about yourself. Hence, you can break free. Break free from the chain.
We don't just get a ton of emails. We get a ton of calls, too.
Yeah.
And he really does hit that sweet spot.
He does.
And he really does deserve this attention and exposure. So,
right.
Yeah.
I love him. I think he's extraordinarily talented. Now, here's the takeaway from what he just said there. So the Republicans are not interested in taking away your pain. They're not interested in solving any of your real problems in this world. The Democrats are, and the Democrats do. That's why we've been talking all week long about these battery plants, about these car plants, about these EV plants, about these lithium, processing plants, about Panasonic opening plants, building microchip factories. All this stuff, and these jobs are going to start at $40 an hour or $25 an hour. Bag boys who have no formal education at all are now making $22 an hour working for Rivian, for an EV car maker who just got a huge order to make all of Amazon's vans electric. Rivian, So that's why we've been celebrating all week long, us being able to figure out how to structure a tax code that actually creates jobs that pay you $135,000 a year, that pay you the kind of money that you could raise a family on, and they are very busy forcing you to have a family, whether you're able or not. Okay, so the takeaway from what he just said there, what Trey is actually saying to you is, the Republicans have no interest in solving any of your real problems or taking away any of your real pain. So instead, the next best thing is, hey, let's cause other people pain to make you feel a little bit better about the pain you're in. As if that takes pain away. It doesn't. It doesn't. And that is pure evil. That is pure idolatry. That is pure pathetic politics from pathetic politicians. That is the height of ridiculous politics, bad governing, lack of leadership, however you want to tag it. It literally has no chance of taking away your pain. It literally has no chance of taking one single solitary family out of poverty. And yesterday I was able to show you, okay, and it's in the homework from yesterday if you missed it, right? Once you're in the homework section, you could have all the homework you want and it's free. But yesterday there was an article in the New York Times about how through the pandemic and through the Earned Income Tax Credit and through the American Recovery Act and through SNAP and the expansion of Medicaid and other programs that Democrats have fought their spit their lungs out arguing for and getting passed. 69% of America's poor children are no longer poor children. 69% have been removed from poverty. Now, Republicans can't claim that they've done anything near that, and so their entire approach to the next election is to cause pain to others. And that is sick and sad and no way to live. That makes us a fascist, freaky Florida, okay, without any of the good stuff that, fascist Italy had to offer or fascist Spain had to offer, which was delicious wines and fabulous tomatoes. We don't have any of that, although we do grow tomatoes here. But I mean, it's just a sad, sick, twisted, but easily understood commentary on where the Republican Party is, okay? And I'm telling you, they are this close from saying, hey, last time we took people by plane and landed the plane and let them get off and then, forced them to figure out where they were. When the people got off the plane, when the Venezuelans and Colombians got off the plane in Martha's Vineyard, they had no idea where they were. No idea where they were. And they weren't told where resources were. It's like a freaking video game, okay? And they had to go find the center of the town from the airport where they were just dumped. Next time they'll say, well, damn it, they figured it out. They got to resources and the people welcomed them. Next time, just throw them from the plane. Next time, just throw them from the train. Next time, just drop them off, kick them out of the bus.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
In America, evil will not win. It will not prevail. And white supremacists will not have the last word. And this venom and violence cannot be the story of our time. So we convene this summit to make clear what the story of our time must be. It has to be a story in which each and every one of us has a vital role to play. A story with this message from the White House. United, united, united we stand.
So I'll bet you anything that people who religiously watch Fox or, OAN or Newsmax or any of those, lunatic, fringy, right-wing, lying propaganda channels don't even know that we had a United We Stand summit convened to declare that we will defeat white supremacy in this country, that racism and this ugliness that is just being spewed and viewed by the right wing will not be the story of our time. It will not. What will be the story of our time is overcoming this kind of rhetoric, this kind of chaos, this kind of ugly, violent attack on humanity, dignity, and decency. And, we've lived through it before and we prevailed. We have. They just want to set us all backwards. They just want to go back in time. When they say make America great again, trust me, they're talking about before 1954. Some of them are talking about before 1854. Okay? But they're all a bunch of twisted little freaks who have absolutely no leadership qualities, no courage, and no ability to solve people's problems. And therefore, they make other people suffer in front of the people who are already in pain so that they can say, well, we can't solve your problem, but look, we're torturing somebody else. So sick, so sad, so wrong, so not American, so un-American, so subversive, so unnecessary. Now, what is necessary is that the Republican Party get their crap together and come up with a policy platform to solve some problems, but they're not interested. Because what are the things that we need to do? We need immigration reform on this particular issue. Obviously, the tax code was lacking in incentives. It was obviously lacking in support for people who have families. It's obviously lacking in, collection and revenue from the billionaire class. I mean, when you look at the taxes in the United States, the corporate tax burden, you can see it went from 50% down to 28%, down to 13%. What did you think was going to happen? Did you think things were going to get better for you and your family? I mean, it's like corporate terrorism that's being done to our tax codes, corporate terrorism that's being done to workers. This week we also celebrated the triumph of railroad workers who just managed to score themselves a 24% increase in pay. Some of it will be retroactive pay, and some of it will be pay going forward, so that they can support their families because they served us during the height of a COVID pandemic when we had a president who said it was a hoax. This is the way that you take care of people in the Republican Party. You say, you're dying is a hoax. I don't believe you're dying. And if you are dying, you're old anyway, and we don't need you. And oh, by the way, if you're an essential worker, you better show up for work. You better cut the meat. You better show up and make the trains run on time. I mean, who says crap like that? Make the trains run on time. Do you understand? I know you do. I know you do. Even the most maggoty maggots understand. This is a road to hell that you're on. This is a road to the complete and utter destruction of you. You're advocating for taking away your own privacy rights, your own power at the voting booth, your own ability to cast a ballot. I mean, all of this is designed to make you your worst enemy. And for some of you, that's a very comfortable position. I need you to be uncomfortable if that's your position about your life. Jay in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Randy, how you doing?
Good.
I never did anything like this in my life. Thank you for your service, young lady. And I just wanted to say, the reason I'm calling is myself, along with a lot of my brothers, we're ashamed to say we serve this country. And I also want to add, I have no political affiliation or association with.
So, wait, did you just say you're ashamed that you served? Jay? I lost you. Don't ever be ashamed of your service. Your service was honorable. Anybody that ever signed up and swore to uphold the Constitution did it out of, did it from an honorable place. If your leadership sucked, well, that's not your fault. That's not your fault. We've had some really, really great presidents, and we've had some really sucky ones. So, don't ever be ashamed of signing up and serving, believing in the best of what service is. It's not your fault that we were led by, a guy who declared war on Iraq after we were attacked by Saudi Arabia. It's just not your fault. Oh, no. Okay. Brother David.
Sister, word to infinity. No, Jay, never be ashamed of your service. My father was an Army guy.
My father, too.
Yeah, no, never. Two things I want to get out there. As I said to the chat room, hi, chat room, you know what to do. There's a reason, as a theater child, that Into the Woods, the revival of Into the Woods, is suddenly the hottest ticket on Broadway, because it's all about community responsibility and coming together to fight the giants among us. The second thing is, have you ever caught Trey and Smart Mark AG's Tuesday night Facebook podcast, Weekly Skews?
No, I very rarely. This is like an admission of guilt, but I very rarely go on Facebook.
Well,
but
I understand that.
I was on there today. I was actually on Facebook today for some reason. I guess I was falling behind and wishing people happy birthday and stuff. So I went on there, because I had a whole bunch of people that I loved that had birthdays.
Right.
And Jimmy and Jeanette had their anniversary, and so I got on
You
Facebook.
have to acknowledge, sure.
Right.
Well, I've been saying this because they changed my schedule at the store, so I don't get to watch it because it's not Trey doing liberal redneck stuff. It's the two of them analyzing the news of the week, and
Tuesday?
Same skew.
Tuesday
nights. I want to say it's 7:00 Pacific time.
Okay.
Just go to Trey, go to Trey's Facebook page, and it'll be there. Because I've been saying forever they need to get you as a guest. They've had the Hightower on. They've had some and they need the Goddess of Radio on.
Oh,
to give them her skew on the
I should have him on too, but I don't do guests very often. But
right, of course.
You know why? Because you do all this prep for them, and all this communication happens, and then the Facebook thing, and then the now everything's got to be on video, and then something happens, and they don't show up, and you have like all this time, and it's empty.
Right.
I just don't.
Still more of us, sister. Gorgeous girdles for everyone. A blue Nami is coming.
I hope so. Thanks, brother. But I'll check that out. Tuesday night, 7:00, I guess, on Facebook. Trey Crowder has some sort of a dealio. I'll go there. I'll go watch. I could chat with him on my phone.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Former President Trump declaring his innocence in the Mar-a-Lago documents case.
Well, I can't imagine being indicted. I've done nothing wrong.
And saying any indictment would not keep him from running for president.
I don't think the people of the United States would stand for it. And as you know, if a thing like that happened, I would have no prohibition against running.
Speaking on the Hugh Hewitt radio show, Trump said he does not expect to face any charges.
If it happened, I think you'd have problems in this country, the likes of which perhaps we've never seen before.
But when pressed, he would not elaborate on what problems. It comes as a judge yesterday denied the Justice Department's request for a partial stay in her ruling that limited their investigation into the more than 100 documents seized at Mar-a-Lago, documents marked as classified. The judge saying she's not willing to accept the DOJ's assertion that the documents taken were classified, and she demanded they be handed over to a special master for review. Trump claims he declassified the documents in question, and there are witnesses, though his attorneys have not argued that point.
I think it was other people also were there, but I have the absolute right to declassify. Absolute. A president has that absolute right.
A new poll from Fox News finds 65% of people surveyed believe Trump was wrong to take the documents. Oh! As for his possible 2024 bid for president, Trump says his supporters will stand behind him.
If you noticed, the poll numbers are the highest they've ever been. The people are not going to stand for this stuff. They've weaponized Department of Justice and FBI.
The Justice Department could appeal that latest decision in the Mar-a-Lago case, an issue that could go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. We are about to strap in, because it's going to be a bumpy ride, everybody, a bumpy ride. Now, Fani Willis in Georgia, she actually says, by the way, Fani Willis in Georgia is going to use RICO. She's going to use the Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organization law to go after, at least we know Rudy Giuliani is a target. The fake electors are a target. She says Trump is a target. I mean, this is an organized crime statute, and they're going to have to invoke it and use it in a Georgia courtroom against Donald Trump, because it will allow for her to tell the jurors the full story of this very complex conspiracy to defraud the United States out of a free and fair election. there are so many moving parts to just the Georgia angle, let alone the DOJ looking into everything having to do with the planning of January 6th, the fundraising for January 6th, the fundraising after January 6th, the Save America PAC, the lies that were told in order to get $100 million plus of donations into Trump's pockets, which he was supposed to use to support Republicans who were running in this midterm. Hasn't done anything to support Republicans running in this midterm. Just shows up for election deniers and endorses them, but no cash, no money, no nothing. I mean, it's unbelievable. So Fani Willis said that the special grand jury has interviewed about 65% of the witnesses whose testimony was sought by the prosecutors. She said, quote, "We're going to be done calling witnesses by the end of this year, period." Rudy Giuliani has been notified that he is a target. 16 of the fake electors have been notified that they are two targets of this investigation. And then she added that there is a serious threat that criminal charges could be brought against Donald Trump and his allies. Criminal charges we're talking about. We're not talking about civil actions. We're not talking about, around the edges of Trump. We're not talking about just Rudy Giuliani. We're not talking about Boris Epstein. She's saying there's a good possibility that there are criminal charges that will be brought against Donald Trump, and that it is a complex conspiracy that is leading to these criminal charges, so much so that she's going to use RICO. The first thing she's pursuing is whether or not there were violations of Georgia law that prohibit false statements being made to government officials. Well, Rudy Giuliani and others, Sidney Powell and all them, they went and testified to the Georgia state legislature, right? And they lied to them. So that's a crime right there. And then second, they're looking at the call that we all heard Donald Trump make to Brad Raffensperger, saying, I need for you to do election fraud for me. I need for you to find me votes. Well, there are laws against solicitation of election fraud, which is what you have on that phone call. Obviously he was not successful in soliciting a claim of fraud or that the elections were stolen from him, but he solicited fraud, and that in and of itself is a crime. And then they also are pursuing efforts to say to get the fake electors into court. As part of an organized effort to give Mike Pence something to hang his hat on when he said he could, so he could say, "I can't certify. It's too confusing. I don't know which slate is the legitimate slate." Well, that didn't work either. And then last week, Boris Epstein was named in a federal subpoena seeking information about the electors from Georgia. And then finally, you have the threats. The threats against Ruby Freeman, the threats against Ruby Freeman's daughter, the election workers, and on top of it, you also have the Coffee County, Georgia videotape now of Sidney Powell and her minions breaching the Georgia voting machines and copying Coffee County's restricted election system data. These are all crimes. These are all massive freaking crimes. And what's crazy about the Coffee County, Georgia thing is it's such a small place, nobody would have paid attention to it. But the same thing happened in Michigan and the same thing happened in Nevada by the same people. And so that's why she needs to use the RICO Act, which, by the way, I predicted. Just saying. Federal government's going to do it too. DOJ is going to end up with, having to use the RICO statute too, because when you look at all the different moving parts of what DOJ is investigating with regard to Trump, the classified document removal is just the latest. It's just the latest in the long list of crimes that DOJ, the Department of Justice is investigating, right? I mean, this isn't, tax fraud. This isn't, cheating insurance companies. This isn't overvaluing your properties for the purpose of insurance and undervaluing your properties for the purpose of taxation. No, this isn't that. This is rigging an election. This is soliciting fraud. This is, organizing violence, planning a coup, fake electors, communications. It's so. And then the last thing is this classified document scheme, this caper. And we have 50 empty folders, and you have a judge, loose cannon, is sticking to her guns, But you have a loose cannon over there saying, we don't even know if these were classified. We can't take the word of the FBI. We can't take the word of the Department of Justice. We can't. I mean, she's a case. She is a space case. She's a head case. She's a maggot. Literally questioning the prosecutors. The prosecutors committed no crime. Donald Trump did. Question him. So now DOJ, they're saying they will have to appeal to the 11th Circuit. I'm not so sure. And I was never so sure that that was the only way.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
You know the old saying, a prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich if they want to. I'm just asking, if there is such a prosecutor and they indict you, would that deter you from running for president again?
I don't think the people of the United States would stand for it. And as you know, if a thing like that happened, I would have no prohibition against running. You know that. You've already
I do, and that's what I want people to understand. That would not take you out of the arena.
It would not. But I think if it happened, I think you'd have problems in this country, the likes of which perhaps we've never seen before. I don't think the people of the United States would stand for it.
What kind of problems, Mr. President?
I think they'd have big problems. Big problems. I just don't think they'd stand for it. They will not sit still and stand for this ultimate of hoaxes.
It's a hoax. He stole classified, top secret, compartmentalized intelligence. And that's a hoax, too. COVID was a hoax, too. Everything's a hoax. The ACA was going to repeal and replace it, right? So what were you going to replace it with? I don't know. Just, rapists, they're murderers, they're drug dealers, they're this, they're that. I mean, a lot of talking. Absolutely nothing got done. Nothing got done except billionaires got tax breaks that allowed them to buy back their own stocks, to prop up their companies without having to make anything, without having to invest anything, without having to invent anything. And here we are building semiconductor factories. Here we are building electric vehicles. Here we are building charging stations across 53,000 miles of interstate highway. Here we are turning interstate highways that have divided communities and creating beautiful boulevards to weave them back together, to right wrongs. Here we are trying very hard to fix our immigration system, and no cooperation from the Republicans. And here are the Republicans. What are they doing? They're standing in the way of progress on every one of these issues and taking away your right to vote and taking away your right to privacy and taking away your right to marry and taking away, they're always taking. They're always taking. We give and we give and we give, and they take and they take and they take. And then they drive us off the edge of the cliff and wreck the car. Then we have to go down and get the car and fix the car and put the keys back in the car. And then they ask for the keys again. 69% of our kids were lifted out of poverty. Do you understand that? 69%. We're building things, and they're not walls. Beverly in Montana.
Yes, Randy, I haven't heard anybody talk about this. The FBI gave a list of items they took from Mar-a-Lago, and that included 2 binders of photographs. And I'm wondering if there's maybe we're senators and he was using that for blackmail, and isn't that a crime?
Oh, yeah, that would be a crime. But, Beverly, we just don't know what the hell he had or took or stole or, compiled or shoved into, a basement in Florida. But what we do know is people would go to Mar-a-Lago and suddenly they'd come back, and all of a sudden, their irritation or their dismay or their despair with Donald Trump's leadership would suddenly, just disappear.
Well, That's true. I don't know what's on there. I just don't hear anybody talking about it. Thank you.
You're welcome, because nobody knows what's there. Nobody knows what's there. But I will tell you, it's very interesting that Kevin McCarthy was on the floor of the House screaming, Donald Trump bears responsibility for this insurrection. Donald Trump created this insurrection. We need to have a commission. We need to have a bipartisan commission to look into who financed and who brought these people here and who allowed them to do this. Yeah, and then he goes down to Magaloco and comes back and he's like, it's all good. It's all good. Lindsey Graham, he used to call Donald Trump a kook and a racist and a xenophobe, right? And now he's repeating Trump's talking points.
You know the old saying, prosecutor.
Wait, no, that's Trump. Here's Lindsey.
If there's a prosecution of Donald Trump for mishandling classified information after the Clinton debacle, which you presided over and did a hell of a good job, there'll be riots in the streets.
I mean, they continuously, change. They flip. They flop. Something in their brain just changes their thought process. Could it be that there are photographs of Lindsey Graham with a live goat or a dead boy? I don't know. Could there be pictures of, Mark Meadows, snorting, smoking, shooting, injecting? I don't know. Could there be conversations of these senators, these House members, accepting bribes to do this or that? I don't know. But it would be good to know.
Whoops.
Lenny in Massachusetts.
Hi. How are you, Randy?
Good. You?
I'm fine. I just wanted to point out that I live in central Massachusetts in Worcester, and everyone I've spoken to, no one has taken the negative outlook that Ron DeSantis was looking for.
Right.
Everyone was angry with him for treating these people as if they were some kind of shipped goods. We're just going to send them out to the ocean so they won't know where they are on Martha's Vineyard to begin with.
Right.
Everybody was angry with that whole setup, and everybody's like, this has got to stop. Why are they being so mean to human beings?
Yeah.
Everyone I know has
listen, Floridians who are typically lunatics are starting to say the same thing. They're starting to say, well, what is the point of the cruelty? Oh, cruelty is the point. Okay, we get it.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they get it. So, yeah, nobody thinks that this was a successful political, proppy sort of a thing. Everybody gets that this was copied, stolen, right?
Exactly.
And that it's stolen from the White Citizen Council's reverse freedom rides. Everybody gets it. Everybody knows what they're about. Everybody knows what the signaling is. Everybody knows what they're trying to encourage. And decent people in this country who have absolutely no politics whatsoever, which is, a good chunk of us. I mean, not me, obviously.
Chunk. Not me either.
Right, but there's a big chunk of America that's just, let me have my, TV and my lazy boy and I'll be good, right? But now they're all of a sudden they're going, wait a minute. This meanness, this cruelty, this is not America. They're shaming us. Right, it isn't. It isn't who we are. We are a nation of immigrants, for God's sake. For God's sake.
My father's parents came here from Greece. Okay, so my grandparents on one side, and my mother came here from England. So, tell me, where would I be without them?
Right. And, we're Ukrainian and Belarusian and, we had to come here, because people were trying to kill us. So how do you sit back, relax, and enjoy this show when you know that that's all they're doing is trying to stay alive and raise their families in peace? That's it. That's all they want.
And they had to escape some really bad situations.
You know how many countries to be from Venezuela? Do you know how many countries you have to have gone through to get?
Yes, it's a long way.
It's a long-ass way to do it. A 2-year-old, for God's sake. My parents, they're like, go to the bathroom now before, we hit the road. Go now. I don't want to.
Exactly.
Can you imagine taking a kid from Venezuela to Martha's Vineyard?
No, especially when you didn't have a private jet or something to get to Martha's Vineyard.
Right. Well, thanks.
So silly, you're going to go all the way from Venezuela and you don't even own a really nice car to get there. No, I don't think so. This is horrible.
It is horrible.
And one other thing I just wanted to point out was that some people are a bit on the naive side and they seem to think this was, something these two idiots cooked up themselves, the two governors, Abbott and DeSantis. No, it goes much deeper and it's been going on much longer. And, I mean, we have pointed out the 60-year ago hyenas horse shit that went on, right?
Oh, yeah. I have to hang up on you because you said the S word. It's okay. You dumped her, right? She said the Hyannisport stuff, but she didn't say stuff. Something with an S, but not stuff. Anyway, we get your point, and obviously people are not having this. This is not who we are. We're not a cruel and subhuman population. It's not exactly, the Middle Earth anymore, here. We didn't really go that low. These guys did, and they are playing to those who want to. But there aren't very many of them. That's the really nasty truth. Is there are very, very few, and there's fewer every minute. Every minute somebody has a moment of clarity, a cleansing moment of clarity, where they say, that's not me. I don't get ahead by starving 2-year-olds. I don't do any better in my life if 4-year-olds are tortured or 4-year-olds aren't fed. That doesn't do me any good, right? You understand that they have no desire to make things better for you, so they torture other people so you can watch that. Listen, try to have a weekend. The Queen's funeral will be Monday. Yeah, we'll just keep on going.